Black Ops on July 5th. 1. There has been a malfunction in Project Flashlight with devastating results. 2. It seems I am the only person left on Earth. 3. Perrin has been incinerated at the grid control. 4. I've been sealed into the lab, so I have set up a gas device in the washroom, hoping to...
Right now?
Rick was memorized by the button. Welcome to Lost and Found and Rewound, a podcast that answers the question, what happens when an educator, a magical creature, and a businessman walk into a room with a plate full of Ledo's pizza?
You know what? I've been reviewing the old episodes. I listened to a couple on the way up here, and I think one of the reoccurring themes of this show is... what happens to your memory as you age? So many instances. There's at least one episode that is really made up mostly of us not being able to remember people's names, actors' names. It's amazing.
Well, that's part of the charm of this. We don't even say our own names on the show.
Right. It's charm.
I'm Chris Lost.
I'm Found Jim.
And I'm Rick Rewound.
We did it.
We remembered.
Good job. It's just all about self... see, I can't even remember that word.
We're recording these episodes ahead of their release, so we work painstakingly hard to make sure we don't date them with references like, boy, we have a bad president, or we shouldn't have been in this war, or the third Star Wars film in the trilogy comes out this week. That said... I'll give you a hint as to the vintage of this recording by saying we are all eagerly awaiting to discover whether Han Solo will be reanimated in the upcoming third film in the upcoming Star Wars trilogy.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Is that something that's... Okay. Let's not even go there.
I'm just pointing out that, well, if I truly want this to be timeless, I can't say anything else.
Yeah.
Because, maybe there's multiple trilogies. Lucas always talked about having multiple trilogies for the Star Wars films.
Not always. That was something he started talking about after the first movie did well. Please remember that.
I've got a whole box of these stories.
Yeah, this trilogy, three trilogy malarkey started much later than he's letting on.
And now after all that bullshit about trying to make this timeless, I'm going to go through the films that I've seen recently, which I think we've all seen recently. The Irishman. Gentlemen, have you seen it? Did you like it?
I didn't see it.
I saw it. And no, I did not like it. In fact, the more I think about it, the more angry it makes me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Angry.
I think I'm getting close to angry about it. I think the use of... I just saw, again, a clip of frickin' 70-year-old men, 70-year-old man bodies with 40-year-old faces trying to act. And it got me so mad, like their movements and everything like that. Just like...
When he throws the gun in the river, Dave Keith was pointing that out. He throws the gun in the river like he's like 90 years old, yet he's got a 30-year-old's body or whatever.
So, and that idea of old men refusing to let go. Why even bother getting Joe Pesci back? Why not just get a Joe Pesci Muppet to do all of those scenes of him
thought it
sitting,
was a Joe Pesci
Muppet.
Sitting
at a table talking to people. Like, how much of that freaking movie is people sitting at a table in a restaurant talking to each other?
Just bypass that and just get Yoda.
Yeah.
Yoda?
Freaking, you don't even know. You're not on social media. There's a whole Yoda nightmare now that you probably have no idea about.
Yeah,
Baby Yoda? Do you know anything about Baby Yoda?
No.
Jim?
I'm busy watching, my Pang Su videos, which is on YouTube.
They're
I'm
amazing.
I'm not completely.
Did you
out
send
of the
those to
loop.
Chris? Did
No,
you
I
send
can
the
s-
Peng Su to
Please,
Chris?
please forward them along.
Oh, Chris,
I,
that is worth it.
He's a giant. Well, he's from Antarctica, of course, because he's a penguin. But he lives in South Korea now, and he works for the Children's Broadcasting Company or something. And then he's just
He
a
has a
giant penguin,
Very rough voice, not befitting a
10-year-old penguin.
10-year-old penguin for children.
I've got to see this.
Oh, it's amazing.
Peng Su, Pengsoo. But it's all in Korean. So, which
Of course it is. Of course it is,
but of course,
Jim. Why would you dare watch The Mandalorian when you could watch a Korean penguin?
yeah. But the magic is with
An Antarctic penguin in Korea.
Mm-hmm. But the magic of our day and age is that it's got auto-generated Korean subtitles, and then you press another button, and it automatically translates those computer-generated subtitles into English. So
that's the part I couldn't get
double-
working. I was trying to understand what was going on. You said, the subtitles, but all I could get were the Korean subtitles.
Then
But
you have to
do
click again, and it'll. So it's a double translation. So it makes absolutely no sense at all.
Would be the best.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Right. It's definitely, there's no grammar at all. So every once in a while there's like some words that make sense. You can tell it gives you a clue of what they're talking about, but you don't really need to know what it's very visual.
I've got to watch it.
Yeah, it's fun.
And to go back to The Irishman, I'm remembering like Hugo, the Scorsese movie. There's a small section of Hugo where he recreates. Millet's, not the Lumiere brothers, Georges Millet's studio. It's like a little 10-minute miniature film inside of Hugo. Right. That's amazing. It's
where the bullet gets in the moon's eye.
All that. Yeah. That's amazing. And then the rest of the movie's okay. But and I'm trying to remember that equivalent of that in The Irishman. There's some scene in The Irishman where it's just like, okay, this is why I'm watching it. But like the rest of it is it just felt like why. I think it would be great to see these older guys in a movie playing old guys.
Going in style.
Like
put them in going in style.
Harry and Tonto.
Harry and Tonto, exactly. Think of Art Carney and Harry and Tonto. There's all sorts of examples.
The in-laws.
The in-laws. Well, those guys weren't that old at the time, were they? Yeah.
Oh God.
Oh God.
Oh God.
Now you're starting to push it.
Benji.
Benji.
He was really old, right? Benji.
The dog?
Yeah.
I think by the end, maybe not the first one.
Yeah.
I was such a dumb kid that when I watched movies like Benji, I think it was like a Rin Tin Tin or something, and the credits came up over the dog, I started crying because I thought the credits were going to hurt the dog.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a troubled child. I watched, speaking of Disney Plus.
Nobody brought up Disney Plus.
Yeah, you brought up Baby Yoda.
Yeah, but I didn't drop the name of the streaming service. That's a pox on our existence.
Whoa.
No, sorry.
That's hardcore.
I still haven't gotten my family to watch Cat from Outer Space.
Yeah, that's why you're so angry.
I am angry.
You love Disney Plus. It's got Cat from Outer Space on it.
Well, I haven't watched it yet. I haven't gotten my family
That's not Disney
watch.
Plus's problem.
Yeah.
They've made it available to you.
I haven't finished the novelization either, though. I've really dropped the ball on that. I got the book, but I have not finished it.
So we expect a book report by next episode. And Chris, when is your book report coming?
I still haven't finished that book yet. It's in my bag.
All right.
El Camino. Did you guys watch El Camino?
Oh, yeah.
Did you like it?
You know what? Felt it was freaking like the Irishman of Breaking Bad. I mean, it's just a bunch of stuff. It was just a bunch of scenes. I really felt very little watching that. It was nice to see Robert Forster before he died and getting another acting gig. That was nice. I was like Robert Forster.
I thought he was dead. I was like, boy, is he in this? I thought he died.
He died like a week after it came out, I think.
Yeah. I mean, there was nothing. They didn't cover any new ground in it. Definitely.
Now, I keep saying how much I dislike these, but are you just too terrified to say that you like them because of how angry I am about them?
Wait, which ones did I
like?
The Irishman? I like The
I
Irishman.
Yeah.
I did like The Irishman.
Mm-hmm.
It was a nostalgic journey for me as a young Italian boy who grew up watching all these Italian actors set bad examples for what I thought a man was supposed to be. as I find out later that they're supposed to be playing bad characters, where I was like,
Right.
oh, this guy's great. Gets his gun in his sleeve and he just whips it out. And anyway, it was good to see all the old guys together again. And it just kind of reminded me, I just sat there being nostalgic. Oh, this is like Casino, and this is like...
Yeah.
But then I thought, at the end of it, I was like, Wolf of Wall Street's 1,000 times better than this movie, and I'd much rather watch that. Did you like Wolf of Wall Street?
I liked it. The Howard Johnsons, that was what really got me. I think I was talking over Thanksgiving. I said the thing that I started talking about it to Jim over here and our cousin, and I was saying, well, the best thing about The Irishman was seeing the recreation of the Howard Johnsons, and I started getting chills when I was talking about it because it looked so much like a Howard Johnson's that I would remember from like being 4 years old or something. Like it was a perfect recreation. And then I said, what did I say? I said something like, that should not be the thing from a Martin Scorsese movie that gets me the most excited. He's the amount of money that went into the production design and the computer CGI work to recreate
Just the exact shade of aqua and orange.
and the building and the clothing, everything in that film was perfect time-wise, right? So that's an issue I often have with Martin Scorsese, like in, what is it, Goodfellas, when Robert De Niro walks into the bar in 1972 and they're playing Sunshine of Your Love, right? And it's just like, that almost ruins, Goodfellas for me. But none of that happened in this movie. So all that, like, so accurate, but yet the content of the movie I just felt was a waste of time, and the use of act. And it was like, oh, here, let's cash in. Let's get a couple $1 million for all my friends.
Us? Have you seen Us?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
The oddity of bringing back up Hands Across America, which I had totally forgotten about. That movie, just for that, I think it was worth it. I thought it was pretty good.
Interesting. I greatly disliked Us.
Yeah.
I thought it felt like unfinished script.
Definitely.
I didn't quite understand the Hands Across America thing, like how it tied in.
It's definitely a strange salad of ideas that don't quite get together. That whole Backrooms meme or something like that. There's some whole thing about how there are these secret, like the secret corridors in the movie. There's some kind of online myth about that too. So it might just be stuff we don't totally understand.
That was my other thought, is that I just didn't need to talk to my brother-in-law about it because he tends to have to explain films to me. And then I'm like, oh, I'm really stupid. And then I kind of take a few months. I'm like, he was really reaching on some of those explanations.
Exactly.
I watched 2 Richard Ayoade. Is that how? Ayoade? Ayoade projects. One was The It Crowd, and the other was The Mandalorian. You guys recommend? You said I should watch The It Crowd.
The IT crowd.
The IT crowd. Did he direct a Mandalorian episode?
No, he was the voice of a robot.
That's when I walk in the room and the rest of my family is watching that show on that channel.
With Baby Yoda.
That service, yeah.
So cute.
I recognize. I couldn't place the voice. So that must have been him.
It was, because I was like, it was bugging me, and I'm like, who is that? And then maybe I hovered over it, and his name popped up or something. I forget how I discovered it.
You used the Force.
But the IT crowd was fantastic. I loved it. So
Yeah.
thank you for that recommendation.
Yeah.
I did my homework.
Welcome to 2003.
Hey, takes time. Look, I just got to Remember the Titans. Knives Out.
Yep, saw that.
No.
I love Knives Out.
I liked it too.
I
also watched. So what I did is I went back and I watched Sleuth with Laurence Olivier and Michael Caine.
Never seen it. Good?
Either had I. It was not. I did not enjoy it as much as I thought I would. It was nice to see those two thespians bouncing off of each other, but I may have lost the thread, but it didn't feel as mysterious and complicated as I thought it was supposed to be.
What about Mousetrap? Have you ever seen that film?
Saw it in the theater in 1981.
I rented it at Showtime Video.
Yeah,
I thought it was great.
Mousetrap?
Yeah.
I mean,
from what I remember.
I do not have an adult perspective on Mousetrap, though. I need to go back and watch that. So that was the criticism, was that Mousetrap was too similar to Sleuth. The guy who wrote Sleuth, I have my notes. This is important. The guy who wrote Sleuth is the guy who wrote Wicker Man.
Oh.
Anthony Schaefer wrote Sleuth, so that was a nice connection for all of us here.
That's awesome. Have you ever seen Martyrs?
No.
I saw it a while. It's the most unnerving film I've ever seen in my life, until I watched Free Solo, and Free Solo took the cake. Have you guys seen Free Solo?
That's the guy climbing the mountain.
Yeah, I couldn't. The anxiety in watching that film was insane. Then I watched 50 for 40 and a double feature, 50 for 40, which inspired me to watch the Vietnam War Ken Burns documentary.
I watched that.
And boy, that was grim.
That documentary. Yeah. I can't remember. I remember not enjoying the process, even though I watched all, 12 hours?
It's 10 episodes, so 20 hours.
Yeah. Oh, that's a grim slog.
It was rough. Gentlemen, what other things have you consumed since we've last? But it's been a while. We had 2 episodes where we had seen each other for a week, and now we haven't seen each other for 2 months.
Has it been that long?
We didn't see each other in November.
Wow, I've been in like a complete haze. Yeah. It's probably the rest of my life, but
Other than Peng Su videos, I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of Peng Su videos, actually, but they're only about 9 minutes long, but there's a lot of them. But
look, in fairness to Jim, there's a lot of Peng Su videos. I can watch 20 hours of Vietnam. But.
I did watch Smash Palace last week, which I just did was sort of for homework for this because it's an earlier movie by the star of this movie that we watched tonight, and I'd never seen before because it's just another New Zealand movie.
Is it good?
Yeah, well, is
it good for a New Zealand movie?
Oh yeah, it's interesting, but I like this movie better that we watched tonight. But
how dare you put down the people in New Zealand?
It's just kind of, it didn't work exactly. Well, he's like a kind of a what is it? He's just a very unlikable character, and I watched part of it with the director commentary track too, and him talking about basically what he was trying to do was like how it was an exercise in trying to make this unlikable character likable, or you feel sorry for him in a way, and it didn't. I didn't.
He's
really.
Just an asshole.
Yeah, but it's still a good movie, a dramatic movie, but completely different than he's completely a different character than he plays in this movie that we watched tonight. But I don't know. We can get to that later. But
yeah. Well, we're almost there. I did have a question about New Zealand. I was thinking about how a lot of the podcasts I listen to are from New Zealand. Wasn't there a New Zealand indie rock craze at one point? Weren't there a lot of
Clean? Right? Are they from New Zealand?
Did you ever play with or tour with any New Zealand bands?
The guy from
Galaxy
500's from New Zealand, right?
Right.
He moved to the U.S. Am I getting the Chills and the Clean confused?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
What was that band we played with at the Knitting Factory, in the early 90s?
Bailter Space.
Bailter Space.
Yeah. They're from New Zealand.
Yeah,
but they moved to New York. They were in New York and that's why he was there. Yeah, I've forgotten his name now.
Dean Wareham.
Dean Wareham. Yeah, we met him back
because he knew them.
Yeah, because he was from New Zealand.
Because everybody from New Zealand knows each other.
It's about the size of Western Springs.
Yeah, it's like being from Iceland. So let's just keep talking to alienate the lovely people of New Zealand.
Let's pick out every country we can. The only other New Zealand filmmaker I know is Peter Jackson. You guys like Peter Jackson?
Sure.
Dead Alive.
Yeah. Kind of.
Have you watched the early Peter Jackson films?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bad Taste.
What's
the good one?
The one about
Dead Alive.
Dead Alive.
The true story.
The two girls. Yeah.
The beautiful.
That's a great
beautiful.
Creatures?
Heavenly creatures.
Heavenly
Something
It's
like
one of
that.
those creature movies, right?
Something like that.
In the past week, I've seen The Conversation, Dead Ringers, and Blue Velvet.
Ooh.
Just fed to me. Dead Ringers, man.
I love that movie.
Yeah. Have you watched it lately?
No.
Yeah.
Is it bad? Does
no,
it age?
it's good. It's okay. Jeremy Irons, though, boy, man, why? What happened? Why did he not become the greatest actor
He
in the
won
world?
an Oscar for
Did
that
he win
film.
it for that film? Okay.
Best actor.
Well, that's good.
He got his due.
I saw him, like, I watched, there's a bunch of those shows, like, there are ones in America, too, and there's the British ones. It's like, the British ones are called Who Do You Think You Are, and where they trace your ancestry. And the one in America, I don't know what I can't remember.
With Henry Louis Gates.
Yeah, or they just find interesting people that you're related to and everything.
Right.
So I watched one of the British ones, and it was with Jeremy Irons, and yeah, he comes off very strange, or I can see why he's maybe not in movies. He's just kind of an oddball. He's like riding around on his motorcycle with his dog. He's got these two weird dogs, and he's got this weird like touring motorcycle, and they're like sitting on the back. Or he's got this thing that he built, and he's smoking these like those cigarettes, those like thin cigarettes, those black little kind of like not cheroots, like Clint Eastwood would smoke.
Cigarillos.
Yeah, they're more like
Virginia
refined.
Slims.
Yeah, they're black. They're the dark thin little cigarette things, and he's lighting those up constantly. But he just comes off as very strange, and it's very entertaining.
That's good to know. That so maybe it's not really acting. That's just the way he is.
He had a sexy film stretch. You remember that? Like it seems like there was a series of films after Dead Ringers where he couldn't do a film unless he was being sexy in it.
Yeah, the one where he played Klaus von Bülow, right?
Right. Very sexy. He did Lolita, right?
I forgot about that. Is he in? He's wow. Okay, yeah. I just got a review. I know he's in the Watchmen, the new Watchmen, but I haven't seen that.
I'm gonna watch that. Speaking of Disney Plus, my family's been watching the old Star Wars films.
Yeah,
and they had A New Hope on, and I was like,
which one is that? I've never heard of that.
The very first one. It's the only one you think's good.
What are you talking? You're talking about the one with the little kid in it?
Star Wars.
Oh, Star Wars. You're talking about Star Wars.
Star
Okay.
Wars, yes. The one that was Star Wars until George Lucas said it was called A New Hope. And
and retroactively made it part of a trilogy that he made up after the film was a hit.
A G.
Yeah, not a G.
But my thought was, this thing looks terrible. And then the CGI, the added scenes came in with like the Millennium Falcon took on. I'm like, that looks great. And I was like going, where are the other added scenes? Because the rest of this thing looks like shit. It's pretty bad.
Oh, Chris.
It does. I'm serious. Like I used to be, I was like the nerd.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah.
Tear this film apart. And then we watched something on YouTube that shows somebody took special effects and made the Vader Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber fight the way they would make it today. And it's badass. And I'm like, man, that film just sucks. They need to just redo the whole thing. He just needs to do a whole digital overlay of the whole
I'm
film.
sure in our lifetimes it will happen.
It's great. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. Any other films? What'd you watch, Rick? You watch stuff?
The Conversation.
Conversation.
I watched that again. Man, that's a great movie. I love that movie.
Cindy Williams?
Cindy Williams.
And that transparent raincoat.
Transparent raincoat that I think I already went on a rant about that, right, in an earlier episode. Maybe not.
Maybe it was
just using Gene Hackman from that movie in Enemy of the State, Tony Scott. It's the first instance of someone making a inside reference, like a film school reference to the conversation in their movie, but it's such a superficial and crappy reference that, they use pictures. Gene Hackman's in this movie Enemy of the State, and they use pictures of him from The Conversation, and then one of the characters in Enemy of the State has the same trench coat, that plastic coat as Gene Hackman does in The Conversation, but there's no meat to that reference. It's just like superficial. Like, I've seen The Conversation, and I've got enough money to make a big motion picture and hire Gene Hackman, and so I'm going to make all these references to a good movie, even though they have no value in this new movie. Anyways.
Is it like the red balloon that flies into frame during Pulp Fiction? It's a reference to that French film.
The red balloon?
Yeah.
Cindy Williams.
Beautiful.
Terry Garr is in it.
Oh, yeah.
Han Solo. See, I can't remember his real name. Harrison Ford's in it.
In The Conversation.
Robert
is it really?
Duvall is in The Conversation. Yeah. John Cazale. Is that how you say his name? before he died? The guy from Godfather. What's his name? The stupid
Right.
guy.
Oh, Fredo. Yeah.
is in it.
Cindy Williams.
Cindy Williams is in it. Yes. Frederick Forrest. Don't get off the boat.
When you were saying transparent raincoat, I thought that's the scene in Blade Runner.
Oh, right.
That
Yeah.
had the most
it's more
impact
of like
on my
a
son.
kind of like a foggy raincoat. Oh, where you see.
She gets shot in the belly.
Yeah,
in that.
and then you see the heavily bearded stuntman stumbling through the glass. It's like it's Joanna Cassidy, and then all of a sudden it's like a truck driver in a clear raincoat running through the window. That's my favorite part of that scene, is where the stuntman. It's not even a stunt woman; it's a stuntman as her. Blue Velvet. I remember having a discussion with a film professor about how it had not aged. He realized that he should stop recommending Blue Velvet.
Yeah, I thought that too when I saw that several years ago. I just thought I wasn't in the mood, but I was like, I
was a little uncomfortable. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, but Dennis Hopper, man, and
he's great.
Dean Stockwell, man, it's just that.
So it's not like he's playing a bad guy, and you can accept that a bad guy does bad things.
Oh no, I'm not saying that Dennis Hopper's the problem. I just think overall the movie.
I remember thinking, it was like when I saw it again after 20 years, it was like kind of corny. It was just like, when I first saw it, I was like, this is a crazy movie. It was really scary. And then when I saw it again, I was like, it's kind of silly.
You're not saying it's troublesome. You're just saying it's
a
not
little
really
troublesome.
good.
Well, maybe, I guess, I wasn't. Yeah, I was.
Ebert always hated it. He said it's abuse. Like what's her name's being abused in the film.
Yeah,
Isabella Rossellini.
Ebert always said this is an atrocious movie, and it feels like we're watching an actress being abused. And then I'm almost done with season 2 of the Rockford Files. So it's like 24 episodes a season. So this is intense. But the more I watch it, the more I realize that the Big Lebowski is. I think it's them smoking a bunch of weed, watching every episode of the Rockford Files, and then plopping, saying, "Well, what if our friend was Rockford in the Rockford Files instead of James Garner?" That's my theory. It's kind of like the Cat from Outer Space E.T. theory. This is my Cat from Outer Space E.T. theory: is that Big Lebowski is basically the Rockford Files.
Mandalorian's kind of like Big Lebowski, where the character never seems to succeed. He's constantly being defeated.
Wow.
Which is something I remember from Big Lebowski. Is that a Rockford Files thing too?
Well, no, he succeeds. It's just right? More of the complex, odd, kind of take on film noir, kind of updated. It just feels, but humorous too.
And it's L.A.
L.A.
He's like wandering around.
Yeah.
Or he just gets caught up. And it's just low level. Yeah, it's not Hollywood. There's nothing glamorous about it.
Yeah.
I loved it when I was a kid. I don't remember a second of it. I should just watch it. That and Columbo, I just love to watch those shows.
When I get through 9 seasons of Rockford Files, I'll start on Columbo.
Well, the film we watched tonight is The Quiet Earth. Oh, do you have more?
Sorry. I'm sorry. We're out of time.
You were about out of time. I figured we should at least say a few things about it.
Nope, no time.
It's The Quiet Earth, a 1985 New Zealand film. Jim, do you have a synopsis? This was your choice.
Well, it's about this guy who's a scientist, and he wakes up one day and naked, because it's New Zealand. It's that
full
kind
frontal.
It's one of those foreign movies, and he slowly realizes that he thinks he's the last person on Earth. He's involved in this science project that has gone awry. Everybody has seemed to have disappeared, and he's wandering around, and then lo and behold, obviously, there's going to be spoilers. That would be. That's only the first act, whatever. Yeah, and then there's
34-year-old movie. Is that right?
Yeah,
am I calculating that right?
But
35.
Not a well-known movie, I don't think.
No.
But he's not alone. He finds a few other people, and it's all about the dynamic between, basically 3 people. It's like 2 men and a woman, and they are. It seems to be the last people on Earth, and it's a science fiction movie, but it's the reason why I picked it. I liked it as when I saw it as a kid, not a kid, but 16 or 17 years old. It's one of those good science fiction movies that it's not just a a Western or a war movie with people with stuff stuck to their face, rubber on their wearing masks and things. And
Or an alien cat, or
yeah, well, let's not go.
Or an alien.
Sorry, didn't mean to bring it up again.
But yeah, it's not just a crazy typical sci-fi movie. It's a little more
Would you say
introspective.
Cerebral sci-fi?
Absolutely.
But it's current day, right? It's not
Yeah.
a futuristic sci-fi film.
I guess, yeah, but it is.
They are
but it
driving
is fiction.
youths.
It is science fiction, though. It is fiction.
Well,
it's present day.
I think it takes place in the 1980s.
Right. So it's a period piece.
But yeah, I knew what you meant.
Costume drama. It's a sci-fi 1980s.
They really nailed 1985 New
Yeah.
Zealand. in
Gave me
this film.
chills.
Sunglasses. There are at least 3 different.
The
pairs-
Howard Johnsons,
Yeah.
the New Zealand Howard Johnson is
Perfect.
That was great. Yeah.
It was $1 million. The thing that blew me, $1 million budget made $2 million, so it doubled its cost.
That was my curiosity about it. So New Zealand film, right? So that industry's small, right? Before Peter Jackson basically.
Yeah, I watched the commentary track, and it's the producer, and he was talking about at the beginning he's like, and this is so and so, and he's like his brother-in-law, and everything. It's like everybody was married to each other and knew each other on this film. Or I think it's definitely a small community.
But how much the production quality and the amount of the stunts, it was like a higher level than the original Mad Max, right? You look at Mad Max. Right, the first Mad Max, Australia, because of course, since we're talking about a New Zealand film, we got to talk about an Australian film for comparison. But it seemed like the higher budget, much higher budget than what I would think of as a Antipodean. Would that be right? Independent film from the 1980s.
Yeah, it looked great.
It looked fantastic. Earlier before we started recording, Rick, you jumped on me for saying that they were Australian. I said something about shrimp on the Barbie, or I forget. I said some reference to Australia while we were watching the film. You said that was a cardinal sin, but you didn't catch. Maybe because you guys don't go to Las Vegas a lot, but when we were talking about the full frontal opening scene. I said Thunder Down Under, which is actually an Australian strip scene that happens in Vegas.
Okay.
So I thought you'd get on me for that, but I forgot. Maybe you don't know what that is.
Yeah. Thank you for opening our eyes.
We'll all have to go. That'll be one of our field. In tribute to the Quiet Earth, we'll go watch an Australian male strip act.
I feel like I've already gotten pretty much all I need from this film. It's a lot of full frontal male nudity.
There was
in this film.
Yeah, they were not afraid.
It's Bruno. Yeah, Bruno Lawrence is the main character, and he's definitely I guess he was sort of a hard drinking, kind of womanizing kind of guy, like fist fighting kind of guy, and that's the characters he played in movies. And so this was his first. This was totally against his typecast, So that was kind of the novelty of it too. I think they kind of enjoyed casting him. He's just a scientist guy, and he's kind of the other guy is the macho. The other male lead is the real man, the macho guy. And right,
it was Phil Lawrence, Phil Leno, and Bonnie Raitt in the role of their lives. Do you know who the other people were? I don't have those notes. I don't think.
Well, they're all.
He's the Maori guy.
Yeah,
Maori, is that how you say it?
Yeah, Maori. Yeah.
Has been in a couple other.
Yeah, and he was in the movie with the guy who's beating and killing him. He was in a movie, and Bruno Lawrence. They were all 3 of them were in another movie, an earlier movie that's a period piece, like a early 19th century New Zealand movie about Maori, Aborigine kind of.
Can I ask an ignorant question? Is that so? That guy was in it indigenous.
Yeah,
indigenous.
Right, the third character. Yeah, he's
character.
Yeah, it's Maori. They're called the Maori. They were they're not as like the Aborigines in Australia have been there for like 60,000 years or something, but the Maori are much more recent. They're like
Polynesian travelers.
All the islands they kind of settled in New Zealand like 1,000 years ago or something, way more recently than Aborigines. But not that means, I don't know what that means, but they were there when the Europeans got there, and so there's all that racial tension in New Zealand is the Maori and the white people. So that's part of the movie too, that it's it's a white man, and he's a Maori, and the white woman who she's a redhead. That's the other thing he talks about. I didn't pick up until I watched the commentary track. And the producer's talking about that, where he mentions it, calls her something. It's like they're
Ginger.
No, it's
daughter of
He
Satan?
says she's like one of the. They're like you're like the redheaded people from so and so, and it's like some kind of Maori legend of these redheaded people that was before Europeans came to New Zealand. But so that's why they cast her. He wanted, like the director, I think it was part of that. He wanted to tie into this Maori legend of redheaded people, this ancient, these mysterious redheaded people that they have all these stories about, folk tales about. So that's a reference that he makes in the movie, but that's why she was cast, or why she has red hair.
Well, for a film that was drawing on local history and local tensions, or whatever in the local politics or local sociological nuances, I thought it was very well explained. Like you didn't have to know New Zealand to know this film. It was a pretty straightforward film, but then they were putting things in there. Like there was that point where he was worshiping or chanting or whatever in front of the grave of somebody, and I thought like it was clearly that was a nod to that culture.
Yeah, and they're staying in that house is like some kind of traditional kind of community house. It's like all the carvings, they're all over New Zealand, I think. I don't know what those are called, but that's that night they're staying in one of his, it's like his people's house or something, and there's the graveyard that in the back.
Yeah, so they have the colonial type mansion, and then they have a modern house, and then they have the Maori house. Yeah, so they're going, there's stuff going on.
And all that is, I think, is very obvious to a New Zealand audience. But being you can still pick it up. It's a pretty simple film. I mean, at the beginning there's not a lot of dialogue, obviously, but but once two more people show up,
there is a lot. He talks to himself quite a bit.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Plays a little saxophone.
He does play a little saxophone. Perfect
80s moment.
How did you dare I ask a person who's just given me a lecture about a Korean penguin, but how did you find this obscure film, Jim?
I don't remember. I mean, I definitely watched it sometime back, like probably rented it in the late 80s, or I didn't see it in the theater, but
I feel like it's another Ebert Siskel kind of recommendation.
I saw it on TV. Yeah, it definitely would have been on their show, probably. I think it was pretty successful in America, though. Like foreign films, as far as foreign films go, I think that year it actually did pretty well. Or from what the producer in the commentary track said, was like he was surprised when they finished. Everyone thought they kind of were unhappy with thought they hadn't pulled it off and it made a dog of a movie, and were like, oh, this is just going to disappear. And then it did reasonably well and internationally, I guess.
It made $10,000 its opening weekend, and then went on to double its budget. So that's $1 million at New Zealand. You could buy New Zealand for $1 million.
Oh man, I think I've seen this movie before because I remember the ending, but I remember none of the rest of it. It's really interesting. So it must have been.
You could have walked in on Jim watching it.
I definitely watched it with you guys with the band at some point.
So we did watch it.
It was probably I was like, oh, you guys have to watch this movie. But I don't remember the first time I saw it. Where I picked it up.
So I think we.
It reminded me also. There's around the same time another New Zealand movie. It was called The Navigator.
Oh yeah,
which is called. It's like The Navigator: A Medieval Odyssey, and
that's a crazy movie.
Which is
I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it.
Yeah, it's like a few years later, but it's New Zealand. I think it might be Australian too, like a co-production sort of thing. But that I remember hearing about it when that came out, and I never got to see it until several years later. But I enjoyed that too. The Quiet Earth I like more, but it's sort of similar. That's a time travel. It's not really a sci-fi movie, but it's a very simple, probably not a very big budget, but it pulls it off. It's just a really interesting movie, or just proves you don't need much to make a dramatic, really successful movie. I don't know.
Wait, when did The Navigator come out?
I think 1988.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of a different time travel.
There's another, I'm not sure.
There's a recently, or 5 years ago, really great low-budget time travel film. I have to remember what it is. Here's a great question that we've asked on other episodes, because it's inspired another question. So the question is, what character are we most like? And it's great because there's 3 characters and there's 3 of us. And it reminded me that Runaway Train was one of Jim's selections where there's 3 characters.
Interesting.
Jim, there seems to be a pattern in your films.
I guess it's just, that's 3 is as many people as I can keep track of at any one time. I can't.
In a movie, yeah.
It's too complicated otherwise. I don't know.
So
That seems like a perfect,
It is perfect. I think a narrative,
A
3
table,
people.
tripod,
Yeah. The stool.
stable,
sure,
3 legs.
3 points make a plane.
triangle.
3 points make a movie.
So you have conflict, right? But you don't have so many people. Yeah, you just could have one storyline with conflict. And it's not just conflict between 2 people. I'm sure there's, what's his name? Who's the guy who does the script writing workshops? Probably has a whole discussion about.
Like a master class?
Yeah. But it's
Aaron
the famous
Sorkin?
guy. No, it's the famous guy who before.
So, Jim, which character would you compare yourself to?
The obvious, I guess, would be the Bruno, the scientist. I would probably relate to the most. That's the thing about, it's like at the beginning of it, you see, it's hard to tell because you learn most about him in the movie. I guess he's
The most fleshed out.
Yeah. But I'm trying to think.
I guess the guy killed.
Yeah, you hear there's a
Or
little bit about him.
But yeah.
Part of it, is I don't know if it's like a guilty thing to say. It's like watching this movie. It's like is it just me or it's like part of you think it's like that would be great. It's like if that happened. For a little while, it's like, oh, this is kind of neat. And then you think, oh, and then it wouldn't be that great. And it's he kind of goes through that. It's like he's kind of despondent, and then he kind of lives it up, or it's like they say, it's like a kid in a candy store, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
then he gets despondent again and everything. But
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I definitely feel that. So here, okay.
And then all the producer in the commentary track said that too. That's why I was like, okay, so I'm not that strange. But he was like, oh, this is like everybody, it's
That's
like,
the allure of every apocalyptic film.
Right.
Is what would you do if you could have endless Twinkies? What would
Yeah.
you do if all the liquor in the world was free to you?
So instead of what character are you, this is the question I wrote down is where would you live if you were the last person on Earth? Like where would you go and like where would your house be, or what town would you go to, city? Maybe that would be, because I don't know if these characters are necessarily. Yeah, maybe I identify with the scientist guy too.
There's no one in the world, right, except for people who died at the moment of the event.
Yeah, but it's more like let's just say you're in an Omega Man situation, you're in a Quiet Earth situation, you're just last person on Earth. Where do you go? Like, where is your house? Your last person on Earth house. Like, you can take over anything. You could go to the White House and live at the White House, right?
But it has winter. I'd have to go somewhere warm where I felt like I could get solar power going.
So New Zealand.
Yeah, that'd be hard to get to.
it rains a lot there. I think.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, Florida, I guess.
Okay, I thought this would be a great question.
Disney World.
I guess not. All right, let's move on.
I'd go to Epcot.
You'd
Center.
go to the dome. You'd live in the center of the big dome.
Yeah, because they have all that, all that self-sustained food shit down there. I could eat off of that.
Yeah,
And you could just go to all the different parts of the world. You'd be like in the
yeah.
Right. Yes, I could do
is
beer
that-
around the world every day.
I'm feeling Germany today.
Right. Exactly. We were recently there. We had hibachi in Japan. It was authentic, 100% authentic Japanese hibachi, where they sing songs from Frozen. If you go to Japan, they sing songs from Frozen and make little snowmen out of the onions.
Wow.
Where would you go, Rick?
I have Jim answer first, because
Jim,
now
where
I
would you go?
realized
Korea?
track down Pengsu. Or just find the suit, wear the Pengsu suit, and wandering around alone with the giant Pengsu penguin suit.
That's a great answer.
I do like architecture, so like pick cool houses, like Falling Water. We went to Falling Water. We were on tour once.
Is it in Florida?
No, it's in Pennsylvania.
Oh,
yeah,
cold.
the Roby house came to my mind, but then the winter thing was a problem.
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind winter, so I'd move around. You can travel around.
And do you like the Frank Lloyd Wright tour and just live in each one of his houses that still exists? We could see
Do you
that.
have gas?
Only after I eat like a
No.
onion
That's a different kind of gas.
green pepper pizza.
I actually wrote down the question: would there be enough resources on Earth for you to live the rest of your life?
Oh yeah, it just wouldn't be. You'd learn how to do it. I mean,
Yeah, if there's only one of you.
Canned food?
of course.
Yeah.
You could probably live the rest of your life.
What a
on canned food.
stupid question, Chris. Of course there would be.
Well, but I mean, so you need gas. How are you going to get gas? Because the pumps are powered, right? They're not going to pump anymore.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't be able to
yeah, you'd have to
traveling
bicycle.
around. Yeah, it'd be a
That's
problem.
like if you read the zombie survival guide, they say that you need a machete and a bicycle. Those are like you would think you'd want a M16 or something. That's the
Right.
dumbest weapon. You need
Right, yeah, because you'd run out of supplies.
a weapon
yeah.
that doesn't is sturdy.
Yeah.
It doesn't run out of bullets and then you need something that's incredibly agile to get around.
You definitely would
car
have
wrecks.
to choose where you're going to go early on.
Right.
Get while the gas is still good and available and not hasn't turned, and so then you drive to like California or something and then set up camp, and then you'd be stuck on your bike.
But then what if there's an earthquake? Then you're fucked. You got
so
to go somewhere a
California's
little
not so good.
safer. Texas,
Oh,
maybe.
Earthquakes aren't a problem if you're not living in a giant building. So if you're just
In a cave.
Well, what
Well,
if
no,
it-
that's not good either.
What if the fault cracks and California falls in the ocean?
that'd be pretty.
Why wouldn't you go to Cabo Wabo and Cabo St. Lucas? Somewhere in Mexico, somewhere kind of party. There's all the tequila you'd want.
It might be good inland. Yeah, you'd probably be better inland a little bit. It's hurricanes and stuff.
Right.
Just far south enough, but not hurricane area.
That would work.
Nice. Yeah, hang out at Graceland. Yeah, I'd live in Graceland. That's my answer.
That's
Memphis.
your answer?
That's my answer.
Okay.
Right, Memphis,
Tennessee.
Tennessee, inland, warm enough,
Yeah, that's good.
little
true,
bit
it
of
is warm.
history. Live like the king.
History.
Yeah. That's a good one. I like that.
Would you take up firearms?
I don't. Why would you need firearms? Well,
Because one of the greatest features of Graceland is his, is his
exactly.
target shooting
That's right,
range.
shooting the. It could be. I guess that could be a hobby. Cinematography in this was pretty good too. Lots of good camera movement. I looked up the cinematographer, and it doesn't seem like he made a huge leap into Hollywood or anything like that. But there was some nice camera movement in this film. Again, for a movie that was independent.
Yeah.
In the New Zealand Film and TV Awards, it won Best Film, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Best Director, Best Screenplay Adaptation, Best Cinematography, Best Editing, and Best Production Design. It sweeped the New Zealand Film and TV Awards, but I mean, how many films could they have made that year? 2?
Again, so condescending, Chris.
It's 1985. We're not talking about 2010 New Zealand, where they probably made, how many Lord of the Rings films could you make in a year?
Yeah, that was the question I was asking. How many Lord of the Rings movies can you make? I made it through 1.5.
Well, there's 6 or 7. How many of those?
There's so many.
How many of those
So
Hobbit
ridiculous.
films were there?
Like 3 or 4, right?
I think didn't they make 4 of them? Is there 4 Hobbit movies?
I think there might have been. There might have done a double, right? The last Hobbit movie was a double.
I think so. Should this film be lost?
No, absolutely not. I think it's like all the things we said. It was like it's totally the production is great. It's like shows you don't need a lot of money to make something compelling and thought provoking and all that. It's like it's just as kind of striking seeing it 30 years later. As when I saw it. It's like I think it's great.
Yeah, it's so I think of Omega Man when I think of this movie, and Omega Man I love, but the parts of Omega Man I love are the empty parts, not the parts where he's dealing with the large group of vampire people and everything like that, right? And some of it's okay, but it is that desolate part, and this has got much more desolation, and then there's not a lot more people, and it doesn't have as much hope.
That's
So of course I love it.
I thought it was awesome too. But Omega Man, that's when Will Smith strangled that Doberman Pinscher or German
Yeah,
Shepherd.
it is based on the same book. So there's Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price, which is an interesting movie. And then there's Omega Man, and then there's I Am Legend.
iRobot. Oh, I
Am Legend.
Same
They're all the same from the same book. Whereas this is less. Yeah, there's less of a vampire element. It's so zombie. Yeah, it's nice to have all the elements of a zombie kind of Walking Dead type genre without the stupid zombies. You know, it's like you can go through all. You don't have to waste time shooting zombies in the head, right? It's goes down to the basic, idea of, what do people do, or what is, what exactly what you're talking about, Jim, is like, sometimes, it would
it's
be
like
nice.
what Richard Scarry says, what do people do all day? Let's go back to that book.
And then the idea of like, even that Twilight Zone episode with Burgess Meredith, where it's the end of the world and he's deep in that library or that vault, and the whole world gets destroyed, and then he goes up and he gets to get all his books and he can just sit and read, but then he breaks his glasses, right? And it's that kind of idea of like the dream of not being bothered by anyone, right? Being able to just have the world to yourself, but then the downside of that. But then it also talks about conflict, that basic idea of kind of my son is reading Lord of the Flies, and I tried to have a discussion with him about, why, the idea of that book, people, I think I had this whole interesting, I'm sure this is the standard thing, but, like the end of World War II and then all these veterans trying to, just make sense of it all, it was like, expressed as a good versus evil thing, but it seems like some of the post-war literature, World War II literature, is a lot about like why do people kill each other and why are there conflicts and everything like that. And so this has a little bit. Is that just something natural, right? So Lord of the Flies is that just human nature to want to kill each other or to be tribal? And then this has that analysis in it too, right? With just 3 people, right? So it's that basic conflict where you put 3 people. And then you can analyze all of human conflict with just 3 people, right?
Because it's got man, woman, it's got race, and then it's got just the triangular tension all there. And even like the scientist had somewhat of a gender fluidity about him, I thought. I don't know if that was a joke or if it was like actually him being more himself now that he didn't have to account for people in society. But yeah, no, I love this film. I thought it was great. It's interesting. I was on a podcast 2 months ago and I referenced that exact same Twilight Zone episode, which
an evergreen,
which nobody knew about.
It was so great. I had a student said, it wasn't Twilight Zone. I've been listening to what was Orson Welles' The Shadow. I've been listening to these old podcasts called The Shadow. That was a great moment where it was like, well, yeah, they weren't called podcasts back then, but it's kind of the same thing. You're right. Yeah, it was a podcast.
The internet is just the mainframe all over again, and the radio plays are just podcasts. Yeah.
So that Twilight Zone podcast was really great.
Which is, so we have all this technology now, so we can go back to doing things the way we did 50 years ago or 70 years ago. Should this film be found? So we always say, would you recommend this to a student you're teaching, a coworker?
Sure. I absolutely would.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with this film. There's nobody would think you were a weirdo for recommending this film.
Yeah. Well, I think there's weird stuff. There's some weird stuff in it.
But no weirder than Terminator.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true.
There's a full frontal male nudity, which you don't see often, but
yeah. I think just what we're discussing, the simplicity of it, right? And that idea of being able to make something. And obviously, I was talking about, there is some money in the movie and there's great stunts and cinematography and everything like that. But the fact is that it could be a student film, right? It's achievable. It's the kind of thing that could be achievable by a group of students in this, not maybe in that full, complete form, but the idea of, you got 3 characters. You You got empty streets. You got somebody,
And
stuff happening.
I guess the idea, the thing I read about it, or the producer was talking about, was the New Zealand. It wasn't that hard to do, like in New Zealand, like to get those shots of the empty Auckland. A lot of that was filmed in Auckland. Like they're down right when he realizes he's wandering around and there's nobody around, and they're like on the main street in Auckland, and he was saying, "Oh yeah, that was really easy." It's like no one. It was kind of a joke, I guess, that this happens to people like tourists and things. It's like people, or you wake up Sunday in Auckland and go walking out and there's nobody there. It's like New Zealanders don't go out on the weekends. It's like they don't work and everything's shut down. And it's like, so Sunday especially is like nothing, even in downtown Auckland, nothing's happening. So they still had to close off streets, but it didn't matter because there really wasn't anybody there anyways. So they just do it in the morning.
About that.
So it's both, admirable and understandable that a third world country could produce a film like this.
Okay, now I know you're joking.
You didn't know before? All right. That's just a comment on what Rick thinks of me. So, should this film be rewound? Would you watch it again?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we keep asking this question. It's kind of a dumb question, right? Because we are watching them again. I mean, but then
like how long? Yeah, how long would you wait till watching it again? I guess like this, it was probably 20 years since the last time I saw this, and
I would be excited to show this to my son if it were in a movie theater. I'd want to rush it.
Yeah, that's I'd like to see it on a big screen. Like I've been lucky enough. That's the great thing about, like in Chicago, the film center downtown it's great to go to see movies you normally wouldn't see in a theater. You don't get to see. You just have to rent them or something, or see them online now. And to see movies like this would be perfect to see at the film center. I don't know if they'd ever show. Maybe they would. Maybe they have in the past. But to go see, that's what I always remember going there. Is like it's just great to see stuff on the big screen that you just. Yeah. Otherwise, you would just be renting.
Is this a cult film? Does it have a second life? Or is it a film that just did well, doubled its budget, and kind of got put out to tape?
I think it's loved. I think people who know about it really like it.
Can you get it on Netflix?
Yeah.
Or any streaming service?
Sure, I think so. Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
So what happened at the end, Rick? What were your...
My thought?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Jim will have the right answer.
Right.
The Leftovers, have you ever seen that series?
I haven't.
Where 2 or 3% of the people on Earth disappear. It's like it's kind of like and it's about the people who are left. Mm-hmm. And so I think it feels like this film, if it did not influence The Leftovers, it should have. Mm-hmm. But that when he was talking about multidimensional stuff or like them leaving, so it's like. But to me, it was like a jump, alternate reality kind of jump, and so when they died, they went to this alternate kind of world, right, or parallel world, right, and so all the people who died at that moment kind of got deposited somewhere else, this empty Earth, and then when he triggered that event again, he jumped to yet another, and he's alone, kind of in this alternate reality. And the couple
he seems very blissful in.
Yeah, and the couple, well, he feels like he succeeded, and he also left the couple in that other reality, so that means that life will start again there, and then there might be a third reality where everybody else is.
Oh, this is where now all the light bulbs are going on. I'm like, oh, I'm such an idiot. Because they're the Adam and Eve, right, of whatever that middle world is. But then the other thing I thought was, oh, maybe that's purgatory.
Yeah.
Because maybe nothing, because he even says, he's like, maybe this is just some act of God, and I'm trying to draw a correlation between some experiment we were doing with the Americans, and it's not. It's that we all died a certain way, and now we're stuck in this middle place.
Right.
And then when he sacrificed himself for the good of the couple, that's when he earned the right, even though because he committed a sin by killing himself, so he goes to purgatory.
Yeah.
And then by sacrificing himself for the good of that couple, even though he truly loves that woman, he then gets to go to heaven. There was something really creepy about how they all like to hug each other like they were in a cult every time they got together, right?
Did you get that? Just supposed to be like so excited to see another human being.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you can always play it that way, but it's
So
just
you could call humanity a cult, I guess.
it
Death
is
cult.
It is a cult. It is a death cult.
What do you think, Jim? Were we right?
Yeah, I guess that, and I can't add much to that. But yeah, there's definitely that at the end. Yeah, that he's gone. It is like purgatory. Yeah, like or you're cycling through, or like until you get things right, or it's like Groundhog Day or something. Like and then. But yeah, the end. It's just the event. I think that right as it's happening too. It's like it's early. He thought it was going to happen the next day, and they're going to blow that thing up, and it's like right when it starts going off, and so he dies the instant the event happens again. So he jumps, to another parallel universe, or is the same. It's just Saturn rising. So maybe he's on a moon of Saturn, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, he's somewhere else. He's jumped to another time and space, and
He sacrifices himself for the sins of the others.
that's true.
It's much like someone who got a shotgun blast to his body in the earlier part of the film. If you remember correctly, he shoots up Jesus Christ.
In the tremor, they kind of move just a few, like a little bit away from each other, right? They all kind of jump. So maybe he's just jumped to another planet.
Mm-hmm.
This reminds me that, not to date this episode, but that with Danny Aiello dying, and I'm thinking about Jacob's Ladder.
Danny Aiello died.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
A couple days ago. But yeah, the whole idea of being, when you're talking about purgatory or, hell or heaven and everything like that, it was that stuff. Because I was watching. You had talked about how, like, your moral... In an earlier episode, Chris, you had said your whole moral outlook was based around "It's a Wonderful Life" or whatever.
Yeah, right? That's what a good person is.
What a good person is. And then I was thinking, listening to this monologue, Danny Aiello talking about, who is it? I can't remember, the philosopher, and then saying that the demons are just angels in disguise, right? And hell it's burning away the things that you're still clinging to, or something like that. It's a really powerful thing. But I realized, oh wow, maybe that's where my whole moral thing came from. Is this Danny Aiello chiropractor speech from Jacob's Ladder?
I don't remember Danny Aiello on Jacob's Ladder. I'm gonna have
he's
to watch
his
it.
Chiropractor. He's the guy he's his angel. He says, "You look like an angel. You're my guardian angel," or something like that.
One of the things I really liked about this movie is they did not overly simplify the characters in this film. The characters had depth. They weren't just like, this was Adam, this was Eve, this was good, this was evil, this is the conflict. The conflict between them, the tensions between them were very complicated, and the characters themselves were very complicated. As you pointed out, Jim, you kind of go on the journey of the guy who now rules the earth, and what would you do? And that's kind of a fun thing. I actually thought one of the things I thought was this Zombieland, I think, draws a lot from this film. I would not be surprised if the maker of those movies loved this movie.
Yeah, I need to watch Zombieland again. And the new one was good? No.
No, it was just the second. It was a repeat of the first
yeah.
one, and it wasn't as good as the first one.
And boy, yeah, it is Runaway Train now. I'm thinking of, John Voight on that train riding off into the snow. And
he makes the decision, right? He sacrifices himself for the other two, for the girl and the guy.
It's kind of the same movie.
Yeah, Jim, when are you going to pick a different movie? What is your last film, or is this your last film? No. Your next film is The Hidden. How many people are in The Hidden, Jim?
There's a lot of people in The
Not
Hidden,
all of them human.
Yeah, there's actual aliens in that.
We haven't done anything, have we? Genre-esque, like horror genre. We haven't done anything horror.
Yeah, we're talking about good movies, right?
Wow, coming down on horror. Well, Martyrs, which I mentioned earlier, is one of the best films I've ever seen, and it is horrific. In fact, I considered it one of the worst films I'd ever seen until the last sort of 10 minutes of it. And then I was like, oh, shit, this is brilliant.
Okay.
When you describe the kind of films you don't like to watch, Rick, though, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to you.
Does it involve lots of blood?
Intense amounts of abuse and blood in just the most horrific ways. It's French extremist.
It's just like a picture of a woman.
Yes, yeah.
Looking up and grimacing
and that is
crying.
That's a
happy part of the movie.
That's a happy photo there.
One of the lighter moments.
I guess that's it.
This is one of those moments, Chris. Should you recommend a film?
I would
Maybe
never
that-
recommend Martyrs to anybody. No, I consider it one of the best films I've ever seen. I would never tell anybody to watch it. Because for 95% of it, you think you're watching Human Centipede 2. And then for the last 5% of it, you're like, whoa, that was an interesting opinion. To tie it all back in, The Quiet Earth basically gives you a very similar message with a lot less abuse.
Lost and Found and Rewound is fully funded by Lost and Found and Rewound Foundation funds. Lost and Found and Rewound does not use crowdfunding because our listeners have better things to do with their funding. There's no need to post reviews of Lost and Found and Rewound because our listeners have more valuable things to do with their time. In all sincerity, thank you for listening to the show. We truly appreciate it.